What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vover. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vover original show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vover app wherever you get your apps. Vover, voice over everything. Enjoyed the show.
What is up, you guys? This is a big day. This is a special day. Welcome to the Vover WNBA show. Today, convened here in New York City with me for a very secret special mission are some of the names and faces of WNBA Twitter, and we are doing a special WNBA roundtable to talk about some things. I don't know if we're going to spill tea. I don't know if we're going to pick our MVPs. We don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to start with introducing everybody. As you know, I'm your host, Justine Brown. I'm going to pass the mic to Terrika, but before I do that, I'm Justine, and I think the most likely to get banned from WNBA Twitter is Terrika. Terrika, passing it to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It is your girl, Terrika Foster-Brasby, producer of the Around the Rim podcast. And I think the person most likely to start a revolution on Twitter is Terrika Ayala.
Yes. Okay. I was like, yeah, that better be me. My name is Terriika Ayala. I am the host of Locked On Women's Basketball. It's good. It's good, sis. We good. I am one of the hosts of Locked On Women's Basketball. I am a tourist. I am from No, we're not doing that. Okay. And the most likely to be banned from Twitter, like in this room or of all of WNBA Twitter. Okay, so if we're selecting most likely to be banned from Twitter from this particular circle at this particular moment, I'm going to go with me. I feel good about that, because, if y'all can't handle the heat, I don't know what to tell you. However, I would like to offer this as far as all of hashtag WNBA Twitter, at Get This Dance, Michael. It might be you, fam. It might be you. I'm going to pass the mic.
What's up, you guys? This is your favorite sports culturalist, women's sports culturalist, Jasmine Baker, a.k.a. We Got Game 2. I'm hanging out with my girls in New York City and having a blast. It's so funny. I used to think I'd get kicked off of Twitter, but now, there's so many. I'm definitely going to have to go with Michael, too. Fam, you wildin'. You are wildin'. We get the South Carolina faithful. Yo, man. Whew. I know Don loves y'all, but some of y'all going to get kicked off Twitter before the season even starts. So that's my take, and I appreciate the smoke y'all bring.
All right, just a couple notes. I don't know if you noticed, but Terrika avoided the question, I think, to avoid voting for herself, which is fine. And yeah, so that's where we're at. Also, you're going to have to deal with some of the fade in and out because we are quite literally sharing the mic at this round table. Before we move on, I just want to make sure, did everybody plug their own handles? Because this is a crossover pod. So plug your handles, say where your stuff is. I am at Justine_Brown on Twitter. This is Vover WNBA show. I'm passing it one more time. We're going to cover those bases and we're going to get into it.
So Terrika again, and I just want to, for the record, say that I have successfully passed all COVID practices and protocols, and I am COVID free as of today. However, I am at She Knows Sports.
I would like to follow that up with my name again is Terriika Lindsay Ayala, and you can follow me on the Twitter machine at elindsay08. That's ELINDSAY08. I also am COVID free, and the Rona ain't never come for me. Okay, and part of that reason is because I get down with the Western medicine, and I also go back to my roots. I have the Florida water. I have the sage. Okay, I'm just saying.
I'm from Texas. Don't hold it against me. I've been doing everything I needed to do, so I think I'm good. Thank you.
All right. I am also fully vaxxed, but hey, Delta ain't playing. I don't know. The Deltas didn't play when I was in college, and it's still not playing. I don't know. I'm the only white girl in the room, so I'm just, trying to keep up here. Right now, it's the Olympic break. As we know, the girls, a lot of them are playing overseas. However, the season was getting spicy. I feel like top to bottom, I feel like a favorite's actually a little hard to call right now. Seattle, I think, finished on top going into the break. They're going to the Commissioner's Cup. But I want to go with your takes, your predictions, your team, whatever you want to talk about. You want to talk about the Liberty, talk about the Liberty. You want to talk about whoever. Here you go.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for the restart of the season. You're right. Seattle was on top, Vegas was second, and my favorite Connecticut Sun was sitting in third. And I'm excited about that because, there were some moments where Connecticut were without their best player in Jonquil Jones. There were also some moments where we saw some dips in offensive production, which was something that we kind of got accustomed to at the beginning of the season. And they didn't kind of finish on that for a couple of weeks where, there were some moments where we didn't have enough production off the bench. There were some moments where DB, wasn't playing her best, which says a lot because DB is the bomb. But I think I saw that start to pick back up towards the coming into the Olympic break. And they will also be playing against Seattle in the inaugural Commissioner's Cup for $500,000 and get them coins. I think that's going to be exciting to see, just to see if those top three teams stay in that position and who's going to come for them. Like Chicago could come for them. And I know, Erica's probably going to touch on New York, but I think Minnesota, who was on a 7-game win streak heading into the break, could possibly come for them. So it's interesting to see where we pick up.
See, now I feel obligated to talk about the New York Liberty, but I honestly wasn't going to mention the New York Liberty. But I will say that I think the New York Liberty maybe have overachieved from what I expected of them this season. And I think that is because of just the amazing player that I believe should absolutely be an MVP, part of the MVP conversation. Because let me just remind you that MVP stands for most valuable player. And I believe that Betnijah Laney is one of the most valuable players for her particular team. And without Betnijah Laney, I think the New York Liberty would probably be about where I expected them to be, which is fine. This is not hate. This is real. This is New York realness for ya. And there are some holes that still need to be filled, even if we had a healthy Natasha Howard, even if Sabrina Ionescu hadn't gone down with a little tweak in the bad ankle. There's still some long-term questions that need to be answered when it comes to the New York Liberty team. But like I said, I don't want to necessarily talk about the New York Liberty. I do want to talk a little bit about Chicago. Now, Chicago is a team that came out the gate, Candace Parker injured, so likely expected to not perform the way they would when healthy. But, everyone expected Candace Parker to be healthy. So in that sense, they started a little bit further back from what everyone had expected and anticipated. Did they get into too much of a hole early in the season? Well, Candace Parker came back and said, no. So when it comes to predictions, I believe that the top teams are the Las Vegas Aces, and Asia Wilson is top of table when it comes to MVP conversations as well, and the Seattle Storm. The Seattle Storm are not playing perfect basketball, but they are playing team basketball. They are learning how to be a grittier Seattle Storm team than they've had to be in the past several seasons. So those are my takes as far as the top of the table. As far as some of the teams that are struggling, Atlanta, there's a lot going on with Atlanta. They are on their second interim coach of the season, and we just got to the halfway point because of the Olympic break. That's concerning. Indiana has some questions that they need to answer, and that's not even, I think we have to look beyond just the roster at this point for what's happening with Indiana. So those are some of my takes.
Speaking of questionable teams, so y'all know what we're about to do. Man, at this point, the only wings I want to talk about are chicken. I just do. I don't even know where to begin. I have a question for the group. How do y'all feel about Vicki Johnson and her in her first season so far? Because I'm on the fence about this.
I don't know. As far as like, I don't know how many Wings games I've actually watched, but I know that I got off the Vicki Johnson train as soon as she stood on that podium and talked about Alicia Gray like that. I was like, that's not what you do. A good coach does not address their player in a press conference. You talk to your player in your office, in your practice. And so I'm going to have a hard time rocking with her.
Yeah, I have a different take on this. Have y'all ever heard Bill Lambier in a press conference? Okay, well, I'm just saying, have y'all ever heard Gino Auriemma? He still talks about Sue Bird, I'm pretty sure, and how trash, his early players are and how he rides them. So that's number one. I don't want to hold those comments to a standard that are not held for other basketball coaches. Excuse me. Are they?
Okay, you're right. I get what you're saying. Go ahead.
Are they?
I get what you're saying.
Gino would have said the same thing and harsher, and it would have been all right. So there's that. The second thing is, I honestly didn't have a problem with what she said. Now, if you disagree with her assessment, that's one thing. But there is a difference. I was speaking to Kelsey Plum, in particular, about the difference between playing 3x3 and playing 5-on-5. There is a difference. I think there is a reason that we see Steph Dolson crushing it in 3x3 and Sister Girl be getting in all kinds of foul trouble when it's 5 players on the court. There's a difference. Now, whether you want to say that her shot was off, and, I have not seen enough Dallas games and the in and out when Gray was there to be able to fully assess that. But I didn't think that her comments warranted all the blowback that she was getting. Another thing is that this Dallas team, now the Dallas franchise and the Dallas team, we got to separate. Let's just to be clear. But the Dallas team is an intriguing one to me because this is a Dallas team that, similarly to other Dallas teams of years past, they have elements there to be a true contender. When Dallas was here in New York and they went down to the wire, and I knew it was going to be a good game between those two teams because they have talent, but they are immature. They're young. They're the two youngest teams, and learning to finish games is the Achilles heel for Dallas. And you know what? Vicki knows that. And Vicki tells the press that. Vicki tells her players that. Her players tell the press that Vicki is telling them that. So I don't get the sense that anyone in Dallas doesn't know what's happening and where they stand and what they need to do. They have the elements there. They need to learn how to close out games. They need to learn then to manage games throughout. So that's my thoughts on Vicki. I ride for Vicki because she deserves the respect, because she's a WNBA veteran. She's a New York Liberty legend. And you know what? I don't like how it went down with San Antonio. And I have to put that into context with other women in the WNBA who struggled in their first season as a head coach. And it's not the same bounce back. They don't get the benefit of the doubt. And so all of that factors into how I feel about Vicki Johnson. But I wasn't about to get on her for the comments. I think she knows what has to get done in Dallas. I think her players know what needs to get done in Dallas, and I will assess her on if they get it done.
I just want to add one thing. Put my girl Izzy Harrison in the starting lineup. That's my petition. I'm going to pass it to...
You know what? The crazy part is I don't much disagree with anything that Erica just said, right? And it really bothers me because I think for the last couple of seasons we have said Dallas is a piece away. Dallas is a game away, And so for it to be, this is Arike's third season now, she just won All-Star MVP, which wouldn't say most in most years, but considering this wasn't a typical All-Star game, nor was it a typical All-Star performance, I think that it does say something. And it's hard to put it on coaching when you are a first, year head coach at this particular organization. But I do think think that there has to be a level of growth within the players and a level of maturity within the players that they have to want it and have to really act like they want it, because it is concerning a bit where every year we're saying Dallas can be an 8 seed. Dallas can be a 7 seed. When we saw Dallas play the Aces, which, by the way, was the most watched game on the ABC ESPN network since 2012, they are fun to watch. They're a team that you will enjoy, and they are a team who knows they can compete with the best. We were just and will come and snatch it from you, right? Okay, and you better respect it. And you better respect it. And that's the type of command that's the type of vibe she commands on the court. Like, you will respect my shot. You will respect that I'm the PG. I'm running this. You know what I mean? And so I just think that, again, I agree with everything that Erica just said. And I just, will add on to that by saying it has to, at this point, and I know that's very cliche. Oh, everybody says it has to come with from within. But it literally does, because we just saw Alicia Gray ball out. Shout out to your gold medal. Again, we talk about Arike. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we don't know these players have the talent. So when we say Dallas is a talented team, we're not making that up. They have it. Just do it.
You know how they say it at Nike. Okay. Everything I think was covered as far as I'm rocking with Chicago. Erica covered Chicago for me. Erica said what I always have to say, but I sound biased. So I'm like, that's right. I didn't pay her to say that. I didn't pay her to say that. I'm rocking with them. I like that squad. I'd love to see, take Candace out of the equation. Some of those people are on there. I'd love to see Sluty get there. I'd love to say some people who've been putting in the time and putting in the work that's been a lot unrecognized for a lot of their career. So I'm rocking with them too. Jasmine, did you want to add anything else about Dallas? All right. So we talked about our teams, our favorites, whatever we talked about. I don't know if we're saying our favorites, but favorites to win. I want to talk a little bit of these top performers this season, MVP candidates, surprise performances, maybe even from some. I would say Tina Charles, for one, had some down years and suddenly is back to a top 3 player in the league right now, top 3 scorer, top 5 scorer. I don't know where she's at exactly. Jonquel Jones, whose game needs more love. Jonquel needs more spotlight. They recently were saying how KD admires her game because the way she plays. And yeah, her game is fun to watch. I think she's one we should talk about. I would love to talk about Asia Wilson because once again, we're seeing the MVP run it back and she's running it back right now at the Olympics. I'm going to pass it to Terrika. She's got something to say.
Hey, how you just assume I got something to say? No, well, it's only a podcast. No, I am on board with those that you named. And what I find interesting in this conversation, as we kind of, barely discussed before we recorded this pod, was just, it's interesting when you think of MVP candidates, right? Like, some of us have our own criteria when we think of what makes an MVP. Is it the person that is most valuable to their team specifically? Is it the person that has stood above and beyond other players in the league, like league wide? Is it a person where, you even have those qualifications of, if I were to take this player off this team, would this team be any good? So everyone has like their own general idea of what they determine to be their MVP. And I think the problem that comes with that is that you can probably find an MVP on every team, right? Because this league is just so good, and you can probably pick one person off every team. And I don't mean MVP like league wide, but that's kind of where like I come from when I pick when I set my criteria of who is performing above and beyond league wide versus who is doing more for their team. Because I just think that there's so many different people who are doing some amazing things for their team. You look at Tina Charles and you think, if Washington is not an 8 seed and say Washington is a 4 seed or 3 seed, Tina is definitely leading the conversation for MVP. We talk about Jonquel Jones, who absolutely should be in this conversation. And then that goes to the criteria, in my opinion, of if you take this person off the team, how well did they perform? Well, we saw that. Jonquel missed a few games due to European team obligations, and Connecticut didn't perform at their best. And then you think of, who has completely changed the game. I think of Benijah Laney. Benijah went from most improved player to absolutely an MVP team. And I think when we talk about Erica mentioning earlier that the Liberty is kind of overachieving, that's one of the reasons why, because of her performance. Then there's Asia. Asia is Asia, right? Like, what doesn't she do well? And now outside of, she's consistent. You can expect the same kind of performance, the same kind of play from Asia, game in, game out. And it doesn't matter in what realm she's playing, because we're seeing her do this in the Olympics. Like, you're a rookie. This is your debut. And where people talk about pressure and how difficult it is to perform at this level with this many eyes on you, Asia comes out here dropping 20. Then she comes out here dropping 19. She's like, I do this, right? So there's just so many different caliber of players that we can place in this MVP conversation. And I think it's difficult even still, with us being halfway through the season, to decide who is that number one. And we haven't even mentioned Seattle, right? In terms of there's Stewie, there's Jewel. Like, we haven't even mentioned, the amount of just the amount of stellar performances that we've just kind of seen across the top teams in this league. And I don't know if we're going to be able to select a true MVP until probably near the end of the season. I mean, that's just kind of how I'm seeing it, how I'm feeling it. What about you guys?
I think there's a lot that you hit on, so I just want to build upon that. I think I rebuke those who say JJ can't be an MVP candidate because she missed too many games. Goodbye. You're tired. I rebuke those who say that Tina Charles can't be an MVP because she's playing for a team that is barely in the playoffs. Riddle me this, okay? If you put Tina Charles on the Seattle Storm, and she's putting up the same numbers that she's putting up for Washington, if her numbers are the best in the league, thus, therefore, ergo, henceforth, they would be the best on any WNBA team that she played on, and you want to tell me she's not an MVP candidate? Goodbye. You're weak. You're tired. I can't. That being said, if you mix together everything that I believe people believe the MVP to be, best player, best team, not auntie style, but okay. That's what some people say. Okay, most valuable to their individual team, check that box, Asia Wilson. Most valuable to the WNBA,
Check that box, Asia Wilson.
Come on. Here we go. What are we talking about? What is the argument? What are we talking about? In my opinion, Tina, if you look at the full package in the way that you look at it for Asia, Tina's going to get demerits for things that a basketball player shouldn't be getting demerits for. Because as I can attest to, Tina ain't always, she's not warm with the media always. Not always. But that is not, it's a part of her job, but it's not a part of the criteria for MVP in my personal opinion. Does it make it easier to vote for someone when they're like, oh wow, that's a great question? Yeah, of course it does. But you know what? I'm a vote for Tina if I get a chance, because Tina is balling out. And I also have residual feelings from when Tina Charles did not win MVP in 2016.
Now we know.
No, stop. Listen, people who know me know, I will say this until kingdom come. I felt Tina got slighted in 2016. Nneka had a great season, but how are you the best player in the entire league week after week after week, month after month after month, and then all of a sudden you're not good enough to win MVP? I just don't understand that. I don't understand that.
To expand on what those queens just said, Asia Wilson could do no wrong in my eyes. Since last season, I've been saying she's that chick. Dawn Staley and her program have shined through this Olympics. I'm happy for that. Give us this freaking signature shoe, Nike. I know that those are your people, but y'all are gonna hear me out about this. I need the shoe. I don't want anybody else's shoe until we get that Air Asia. Okay. That's what I'm asking for.
Yes,
oh my gosh. That was
We're worried about the deltas. We're worried about the AKs.
Listen, I'm gonna tell Nike now. The smoke you don't want is from the AKAs. If Asia don't get that sneaker, y'all thought I was bad. Facts, facts. So I'm looking forward to. I know what Asia's doing for the culture. She's been even since last season when somebody asked me who I thought was MVP of last season. I said Asia Wilson before she was just going off, and like 'cause a lot of people said Stewie.
We have a guest coming in.
Oh Lord, we have a guest that just walked through the door.
Get to the mic. Get to the mic.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of WNBA theater.
Jasmine, hold that thought. I'm sorry, somebody knocked on the door, and you know there's no rules around here. Welcoming to the building, the one, the only, Ari Ivory. Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew. No, I think, honestly, I just want to make pew, 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 pew. It's all I got, Jesse. It's Ari. What is up, my people? Have no idea. What are we talking about?
We're plugging you.
I love that. I love a plug. Hashtag Tiger's mom. Do you know that he's I already told you, he's at the doggy daycare cuddling with people who aren't me. And I'm not happy about it. So as we're gathered together as WNBA Twitter, my dog is enjoying cuddles from other people. It's like, it'd be your own dog. Like, where's the loyalty? I'm very upset. So that's where I am right now as I join this panel.
Here's the thing. Ari's booked and busy, so please forgive her lack of energy. And if we can't tell you why we're here and why we are gathered here today, but just know that she has every right to be tired, and you'll find out why later. And she's on this plane and that plane, and she's another member of the Rona crew now. Just kidding. It's a jokes. These are jokes. These are jokes. These are jokes. We honestly, okay, so we're starving also. We have good info. Jasmine, did you want to put a button on anything? No. I'll put a button on it for us. That's MVP conversation I liked. I think Benaj is one who I left off the initial conversation. And I want to say that, like, evolving her game is dope. Like Benija, I read an article, I can't remember whose, I'm sorry, where she talked about that she actually had in her head that she wasn't a three-point shooter because teams told her, until one day she's like, yes, I am. And now you see this person who's a freaking shooter, a bucket, and a leader. As we have all said, Asia Wilson can do no wrong. I did like the point you made about the media thing. Sometimes I do tend to feel, once again, maybe this little bias, maybe somebody I know doesn't play the game as much either, that if you don't play the game, you don't get the votes. And I think that's BS. And then lastly, MVP, I think like what we said, it's like, is it most valuable player because you're on the best team? I do think it warrants if your team is winning and you're at the top of the stats, yeah, you get it over the person who's below you. But, or is it if you took that person off the team, they sink? And I've always thought this was a good debate. We have a late contribution. Hold on.
But anytime I can talk. And no, I just think that, like, we saw when Candace Parker was absent from Chicago, they were on a losing streak. She came back, immediate impact. And I think that it's beyond stats. It's not only like things that are on paper, but it's like, yeah, exactly. And then the leadership on the court. So it's beyond, setting up your team. It's the leadership too, and the presence and the confidence. So that's a good, thing. That's why.
Argument for Jonquel?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's like debating Jonquel being in the MVP conversation. Really, because we saw what happened when she went, but Brianna Jones stepped up. You had a chance to shine, but at the same time, Jonquel, but like Jonquel is one of the most talented players in the league, period. So yeah,
seriously.
I mean, Ari, at this point, they already think that I paid Erica to plug, and now they think I paid you. I didn't pay them to say this, but I agree. And she's an OG, so she's really out there, assistant coach court playing. Like, I'm almost like your teammates be looking at you to shut up sometimes, I think, but it's all good. But yeah, intangibles come in. And so I think, what is it, stats? Is it record? Is it intangibles? And I think across all leagues, these are conversations that need to be had because we see certain people get MVP and you're like, okay, but what is it really? All that to say, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to head to dinner. But before we do, Ari, who do you think is the most likely to get banned from WNBA Twitter?
Y'all not about to set me up so they can come after me. No, man. It's Jasmine. It's Jasmine. Ain't nobody but Jasmine. She didn't get vote yet. Real? What? She's provocative. She gets the people going. They're gonna ban her. Ban. She'd be like, but what was said? And I'm like, it's Jasmine.
I accept that. From WNBA Twitter, and specifically, yes. From all of Twitter,
You think so, Erica? I think you formulate things in a way that's like very like polished. Like you're like, let me read you real quick in the most. But that won't get you banned though. That won't get you banned though.
Auntie on some lists.
I think I still roll with the fact that I think Erica would be the one to start a whole Twitter revolution. You'd be like, what are all these amazing hashtags that have come up? Hashtag Black Women Rock. Hashtag Do Not Puss In. Hashtag If You Don't Like the WNBA, Go Jump Off a Bridge. Hashtag like, damn, Erica, hold on. That would be Erica. I am still on the voting, and while Ari is being politically correct, Terrika is not. Michael, I agree. You the one, boo. You the one to get banned. But you the one.
I'm about to get on his though.
All right, we could do this all day, and the reason I'm cutting everybody off is because we have a literal legend waiting for us in the lobby, ready to eat dinner. She's very hungry. She's hangry. I'm gonna pass it one more time. Say who you are. Say your handle. I'm Justine Brown. This has been your Vover WNBA show at Justine_Brown on Twitter.
I'm Ari Chambers at Ari Ivory on every social media platform that you can possibly find me at.
Terrika Foster-Brasby at She Knows Sports, also on every social platform.
Yes, and this is Erica Lindsay Ayala at elindsay08. That's LINDSAY08. Also on all social media platforms. One of your hosts of Locked on Women's Basketball.
Jasmine Baker, we got game 2. Check me out.
And that's a wrap on this show. Shout out to AKAs because I don't want them to come for me. Okay, bye.
Shout out to Ashley Rose.
Okay, bye.